start with validation rules. So before
Mm-hmm.
we jump onto the practical implementation, let's understand what validation rule is all about. So
Mm-hmm.
mainly, say I am creating a data, or my users who are using the live project, they are using
Mm-hmm.
the application that I have built for them. So I want them to follow certain rules that say if I am creating a patient, for a new patient, status cannot be inactive. If they are
Mm-hmm.
trying to create a patient with status as inactive, they will be shown with an error and they won't be able to create the patient record. So
Okay.
certain business rules I want my users to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they will not be able to do that action. Like, let me give you a example. So on appointment, we have a field called date time. So that
Yeah.
field should not contain the date and time from past. Is there a possibility that someone is getting an appointment for past? Say, let's say you have to meet the doctor
Right, right. I
on
got it.
7th
Yeah.
of December. Is that possible?
No, I mean, it
No.
has to be a future date for
Right.
appointments.
So we
Yeah.
are imposing certain business rules that
Mm-hmm.
a user has to follow. If he is
Okay.
not following that, he will be the operation will be restricted and he won't be able to do that action.
Mm-hmm.
So validation
Okay.
rule is like validating the data that user is providing. And if that data is not as per the expectation, they will be restricted to do that action. That's the simple and the only requirement or only use case of validation rule.
So
So
one question, Sumit. So is this
mhm.
validation rule only for the fields?
Right, right. So it's only for fields. Like we are checking the data of fields, and based
Mm-hmm.
on that, we will throw an error. Let's say,
Okay.
yeah. So let me open our project. So I have listed
Uh-huh.
down 4 scenarios. Like
Mm-hmm.
user should not be able to enter patient record without membership ID. That
Okay.
means if I'm trying to create a patient without membership ID, I should be thrown with an error and I should not be able to create patient record. That's the
Okay. Membership
expectation.
ID is a mandatory field.
Right, right. So
Right.
we can make it mandatory via page layout, via field, but the requirement here, I have to make it mandatory via validation rule.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm. So how to impose or like make the users follow this? We have to go with validation rule, right? So currently, let me open the patient and let's see if it is happening currently. No, right? So first
No,
let's
it's
verify the current state and then
not.
we'll create a validation rule to make that happen.
Okay,
So
but
what I want, yeah, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, please.
we have not made any field mandatory using page layout so far, right?
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean in any of our examples.
So let me open patient detail.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say how to make this field required on page layout. Currently it is not required and we need to make it required, right?
Yeah.
So click here on setup, edit object,
Okay.
go to page layout. Where is page
Yeah.
layout? Here we have open any of these layout and we have
Mm-hmm.
two. So we have to apply the same on both the layouts, marketing and non-marketing. Now
Mm-hmm.
let's make it required on the page layout. So scroll down. Here we have membership ID. Click
Uh-huh.
on these properties here, this
Okay.
icon, wrench
Uh-huh.
icon. Click on
Uh-huh.
that, make it required.
Oh, okay, okay, got it.
Click OK and save.
Yeah, so we cannot do that using the fields and relationships. It has to be done through page layout.
We can do it via field and relationship. We can do it via page layout, and then we
Okay.
can do it via. So let's see how to make it via field and relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Click on membership ID.
Right.
Click edit.
Mm-hmm.
So on the field level itself, there is a section called required.
Oh, okay. But the thing is, when we do it with page layout and fields, we can only make it mandatory, right? We cannot really give uh, rules for the data, right? It has to be in a
Right,
certain format.
right.
Yeah, it can
Exactly.
only have alphabets and all that, right?
Exactly. That
Yeah,
is why.
okay.
I mean, the preferred way is to do it via code or validation rule. When
Yeah,
we make it mandatory via field or page layout, like user is not aware, like why, I mean, in which order or which type of data we are expecting
right,
from,
right,
right?
right.
So
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
make it non-mandatory from page layout for now,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll do it via validation rule.
Yeah,
So my requirement is if I try to make a record of patient without membership ID, and as soon as I click on save, there should be an error here that you cannot create a patient record without
without
providing
membership ID.
membership
Mm-hmm.
ID.
Mm-hmm.
And just go through the requirement. It says
Mm-hmm.
user should not be able to create, enter or create record without membership ID. That means this behavior I want only at the time of creation, right? Not
Yeah.
not at the time of updation. Say I am updating a existing record. Let me open this, and let's say I remove the membership ID and I click on save. That is totally fine. If I make edit in the existing, so the only requirement here is I want this behavior on the at the time of creation of record, right? Getting my point?
Yeah, but I mean, while editing, what if, somebody removes the membership ID?
Yeah, that is, I mean, yeah, I mean, if in actual, whether it's possible or not, that's a separate thing. But the requirement here is like
Oh, okay.
how we
Okay.
capture a single event, like how to
Right.
capture,
Okay.
yeah, that I'll try to walk you through. So my requirement is there are two parts my requirement. One
Mm-hmm.
is I want this at the time of new record only,
Okay.
and second, my sub requirement is I have to check whether the membership ID is blank or not, right?
Right.
Membership ID is blank. So if these two conditions met, like record is new and membership ID is blank, user should be thrown with an error, right?
Right.
So let's go to validation rule. Let's
Mm-hmm.
implement this. From the setup, we have validation rules.
Mm-hmm.
Click on new.
Wait. Where did we go?
Yeah. From here, like click on edit object.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me open it again. So from the edit object, scroll down. Here we
Mm-hmm.
have validation
Oh, in
rule.
the same page. Okay.
Right, yeah. Click new.
Mm-hmm.
Just give some meaningful name like check membership ID
Mm-hmm.
of patient detail. So what is the error condition? Just now we have gone through two. One is
The
if
record
the
has to be new.
record has to be the new. So how to
Mm-hmm.
check in the validation rule whether the record in context is new or not? So if you go here in the right hand side, we have a function panel. So there is
Yeah.
a special function for that is new.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
If this function is like giving true value, that means the record that we are working on is new record. If this function
Mm-hmm.
is false, it will give us the idea, the validation rule, the idea that the record is old record. So click on insert selected function.
Okay.
Comma. Second requirement is whether the membership ID is blank or not. So we have again a special function for is blank.
Okay.
Click on that.
Mm-hmm.
And here in the expression inside the bracket, we have to provide the API name of field that we need to check. So I need to check the which field? Membership ID, right? So click here, insert field, patient detail with arrow, membership ID, insert. So both conditions I have list down in the validation rule. Now my requirement is if these two conditions met at the same time. So in like mathematics we studied about and or, right? So I want these two conditions to be met at the same time. So I'll go with and. In Salesforce, we have a provision for and or everything. So I have written down the error condition that if this and this met at the same time,
Okay.
that's the error condition, and user should be thrown with the error that I write here. So you cannot create new patient record membership ID. So just go through this, how we have formulated that, and just let me know in case of any issues. So this will throw false.
Those
If
are the
the
two conditions, right? If the record is new
right.
and if it is blank.
Uh-huh.
So to give them which field is blank, we go to insert field and can you click the insert field again? Okay, we click patient detail and choose the field.
Right.
Okay,
Choose the
okay,
field,
okay.
insert.
Insert, okay.
Right.
Okay. So if this and this are true, then it will throw an error message.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
now we have a privilege here to provide the error message that will be thrown to user.
Right.
So
Right.
finally click on save and let's verify the result.
Okay.
So that's it. Like that was our first scenario for validation rule. It's really easy, I would say. No issues. Like I'm not sure why people struggle in validation rule, but it's really easy if we are aware about the functions. So in this, we have used two functions. One is
Yeah.
new.
Is
Second
new and is
is
blank.
blank. So you have
Yeah.
to just understand and remember the relevance of all the functions. Like I'll share a
Right.
complete list, like which all functions we need to remember. Just remember those functions that we use very often.
Okay.
So now just verify the output. Let me try to create a new patient detail record. And let's see if our validation rule is working as expected. So I am leaving membership ID as blank, right?
Right.
Click on save. You cannot create new patient record without membership ID, right?
Yeah.
That means our validation rule
Is working.
is working, right? That
Yeah.
was our first scenario. So our second requirement is, let me make it green. My second requirement is while creating a record, status of a patient cannot be inactive. It's logical, right? I am creating a
Right. Right.
patient record and I am giving inactive status. That will not be possible anytime, right?
Right.
So let's see how to make it happen. Currently, I can make it inactive while creating new record, but uh, let's implement this. Go to validation rule,
Yeah. Validation role new.
new.
Yeah.
This time, let's again go to requirement. So status for a patient cannot be inactive while creating new record. So can you
Yeah.
help me understand or identify the two sub requirements?
Yeah.
One is if the
Is
record is
new.
new, right,
Right. One is new.
is new. And second, in the status, if value is inactive.
Inactive. Yeah.
So that is how anytime when you start implementation, you have to identify the sub requirements and then you can easily translate that using functions. So now half of the work is done. You just have
Hmm.
to translate that using
Right.
functions. So let's give some meaningful name. Check status.
Mm-hmm.
First would be is new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is new. Second would be I need to check the value of a drop down. Status is a
Yeah.
drop down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in Salesforce, we check the value of drop down using is pick val.
Right, right. Because it's a pick list, right?
It's a pick list, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Click on insert selected functions.
Uh-huh.
So this function has two attributes.
Right.
First, I need to provide like for which drop down I need to check value. So I need to provide the API name of status. So click on insert field,
Mm-hmm.
patient detail, status, insert. So first parameter will will be like say I need to check the value of source or status or
Right,
membership
right.
ID, which field I'm checking. And
Mm-hmm.
second, which string I am comparing. In our
Right.
case, I need to compare it with inactive, right?
Inactive. Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's
If it's inactive, it'll throw an error.
let's type inactive. And
Mm-hmm.
both should be in and, right?
And yeah.
So that will the main aim of this requirement was to introduce isPickWell.
Right.
So just type our error condition.
Uh-huh.
Status cannot be inactive
Mm-hmm.
for new record.
Mm-hmm.
Save.
Okay.
So now let's try to create a new record with
Mm-hmm.
status as inactive. Let's pass membership ID test. So I'm making status as inactive.
Inactive. Mm-hmm.
Status cannot be inactive for new
Yeah.
record. That
Yeah.
means again validation rule is working as expected.
Mm-hmm.
So any issues till now?
No.
Okay. So one more requirement I'll cover and then I'll give one to you for practice. So my
Mm-hmm.
next requirement is on a appointment. Let's create a one more field. If I go
Mm-hmm.
through our project, we have a field called date and time on the
Mm-hmm.
appointment, but I have not created that yet. So let's create a date and time field on appointment. Very
Okay.
quickly, let me create a new field. I mean, that's the backbone of patient, right? Appointment. Like
Correct, correct.
at which time you are seeking appointment. So let's create a new field
Mm-hmm.
that will be a date time field. Type will be date time. Search for date time. Here we have date time. Next, appointment date time. Okay, let me make it very quickly and save. So I have created a date time field. Let's do one thing. Let's try to create a new record with value from the past. As we have created it recently, it would take a couple of seconds to be visible on the layout.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, now it is there. Test. I am
Mm-hmm.
creating this for, say, Sumit. Sumit is the patient. Let's try to give say 1st of December. Let's say by mistake the agent that was there on the help desk has given the wrong date and time. Let's try to click on save and it will save. That is not correct, right?
Right.
So by mistake, I have created an appointment for 1st of December for a patient. So let's now see how we tackle it. But again, just go through the requirement and let's identify. So appointment time cannot be in the past. Here, there
Right.
is no mention that it should be only on the new record or existing. That means it has to be on
All
all
records.
all records. So this time
Yeah.
there is no is new. The only condition that appointment time cannot be in the past.
Yeah.
So let's see how we check that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, go to edit object. Very important scenario like this type of requirement I have seen in many projects. So
Mm-hmm.
very easy to implement, but very, I would say, important. So
Mm-hmm.
scroll down, validation rule,
Yeah.
new, check date time. So now very important. So how to get the value that is there in the, I would say, in this field. Like we have to insert the field, right? Insert appointment detail, appointment date time, right?
Right.
So how would you, how would validation rule get to know that the value that I'm providing is from the past?
Mm.
There has to be a comparison. So if I compare the value from the field with current date time,
Mm-hmm.
I can get an idea that if the value from the field is less than
Oh, okay. Okay.
current date time, that will give me an idea that it is past date time, right?
Yeah.
So I have got the value from the field in the validation rule. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
it is less than current date time means 9th of December 729. How to get that value in the validation rule? That's the important point now. How to get that
Mm-hmm.
value in validation rule?
Yeah.
So to get that value, we have a ready-made function that is now.
Oh, okay.
Now returns a date time representing the current moment.
Oh,
So
okay.
insert this. This is the
Mm-hmm.
error condition. Very simple. Any issues in this?
No.
That means if the value that we are giving is less than
Uh-huh.
current moment, that means it is from the past, right?
Yeah.
So just add a error condition. You cannot pass date time from past. And let's click on save.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mhm. So if we are aware of the correct function,
Functions.
validation
Yeah.
rule is like really easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only struggle is to remember the important functions and that's it. So now test. Let's say I am creating an appointment for this patient. Let's try to give it 1st of December. Say you cannot pass date time from past.
Mm-hmm.
That means our validation rule again is working as expected.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
any issues in any of these three scenarios?
No.
Okay, so let me give you walk through the fourth scenario. It's somewhat similar to second one, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a cross object. So what I want, system
Mm-hmm.
should not allow creation of a case for inactive patient. So if a patient is inactive, so let me walk
Uh-huh.
you through that.
Yeah.
So if a patient is inactive and I am trying to create a case for that patient, system should throw me a error. So let me
Error.
make
Okay.
a patient inactive. So currently, and that's the logical part. Like if the patient is inactive, he has got some dues to be paid to hospital, or he has done some wrong thing or some, and that's why like he is inactive, or there can be n number of reasons. So the
Right.
case should not be created for that patient. So let me make
Okay.
this patient inactive and say now someone is trying to create a case for this patient. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go to case, new.
Mm-hmm.
Case origin is like phone, or it can be anything. And here I am selecting this patient. So if I try to do this and click on save, I should get a error that you cannot create a case for an inactive patient. That's my requirement.
Okay.
So yeah, please practice that from your side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like similar to second requirement, but many times people come back that how to deal with the validation rule in the cross object. Like we are working on case, but I want some value from patient, right? So two objects are involved. So just try to brainstorm
Right.
around that, how, like how to implement that, and we'll see that